Welcome to the Hardcore MBA Podcast with your host, Erlend, Bakke.
Hello and welcome to Hardcore MBA. Well, today it is all about strategy. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That's what somebody in school said to me. That's one of the few useful things that I did learn in school. But today it is all about strategy, it's all about adventure, and we're actually going to start off by talking a little bit about failure. So I'd actually been bugging Deri for a long time to do this interview, and I wanted to meet him in person. So we met at his private club in just off Pall Mall in London, and I just had a new laptop, which I was proud to show off, a gold MacBook, and we did the interview, it went really well, and then when I came home, I realized that I hadn't set up my MacBook the way that my old MacBook Air was set up, and the whole hour that we spent together was lost. Now, 6 months later, I managed to get Deri on the call here, and I'm very happy about that, but I want to talk about the emotions that I went through and that we all go through when we do something silly like that. Now, on one side, you can say, oh, I'm a stupid idiot, I'm not going to do this again because I'm a failure. And the other side, you can say, that's interesting, I should probably test things beforehand and prepare so that it doesn't end up as a failure, which I call a learning experience. So Deri, welcome to the call. Where are you signing in from today?
I'm in the Welsh borders. I'm at my country home today. So it's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. I'm ready to go again. And this interview's the second time around is going to be even better, mate. So it was all meant to be.
So we've already practiced once, and I've pressed the record button here, so I know that things are working. I've got high-speed internet that's been working all week, so it's all fantastically amazing. So strategy on a page. That's one of two books. You got written Life's Great Adventure. How did you get started in business?
Well, for me, my journey was kind of the forced entrepreneur in a way. I came through the corporate ranks, so I was sold the I'm Generation X, so I'm a little bit older than I look. But in our generation, we were sold the Duff dream that get a job for life. And it's all security and stability and all that kind of crap, which we all now know is not true. So I went through the corporate ranks. I literally worked my way up in the corporate ranks, and that's how I learned business. And it was then, I had an epiphany moment. It's a big thing I talk around on the stages, is when my father died. And when my father died, and he died with his dreams intact, never to be lived, that's when I had the screw this moment, I'm going to live life full out. And part of that was a journey of entrepreneurialism. So it wasn't an easy journey. I don't think it's an easy journey for many of us to step into entrepreneurialism, because it's brutal. And failure, by the way, well, thank you for opening up with failure today, because that's a big part of all of this. Let's just be honest about things, shall we? But it was at that point where I stepped out and started to run my own businesses. Now this is where strategy comes in a little bit, because in the big corporates, strategy is all in place, or you think it is actually. By the way, it's not, but it's there. You have to have plans in order to hold billion-dollar companies together. There's planning systems and everything else. And then when you start up in a small business, we kind of throw that out. I certainly did. It didn't seem to work down in the small business, and we're little veterans, we're little warriors. And we're proud to have our dreams written on the back of a cigarette packet or a beer mat and kind of go to town with it. And that's kind of some heroic stories are based around that. And that's crap too. So it's kind of, there's a middle ground needed here where you need some semblance of planning. Otherwise you are, as you set up earlier, you're planning to fail. So where strategy on the page came from was my own needs of having a really simple executionable plan, but still allowing flexibility without writing business plans, because I just hated writing business plans. And I figured that this is going back about 15 years, but even then, the moment I was writing the business plans, they seemed to be outdated, because things were speeding up back then. And now the speed of things out there is just phenomenal. So yeah, accidental entrepreneur, forced into it, but now I'm unemployable. So
how were you forced into entrepreneurship, did you say?
Forced into it by myself, really, do you know what, I'm going to regret it if I don't. So it wasn't, I think some people come in a little bit easier, but for me, it was it was that my father dying, and I realized that if I didn't give my own business a go, if I didn't try for my own freedom, I would regret it.
Right.
So it was a harder route in. It was a forced route in for me. It wasn't a kind of easy wake up on a Tuesday and I'm going to be an entrepreneur kind of moment for me. So and I think this is it. The first step's the hardest bit for most people. But I was in a good job, you know. I think people who are sitting there in a shitty job, it's an easier decision. If you've got a shit boss and a shit job, it's quite an easy decision to become, oh, it's got to be better than this. Whereas the people who are actually somewhat trapped in jobs which they're okay in, and actually companies they quite like,
right,
that's the tougher decision, I think.
Right. So if you have pain, then you have a bigger need to do something, to change. And oftentimes in personal development, if you go to a Tony Robbins event, then there's people there that they not always, but oftentimes they have some kind of pain or they just like improving.
Yeah, and we're motivated, but there's a whole piece of work around this pain versus pleasure motivational piece. We could talk all day just about that. But I think people are, what I'm seeing is the pain is certainly more of an enabler. And then obviously we're going for the aspiration. There is an aspiration to what we're trying to do. But this is the trick, by the way, because I think the pain is, a lot of times it's the pain is the impetus to get people moving. But the pleasure is there, which is the vision of the ultimate freedom, which you're talking about, the never work again stuff and the freedom that you're talking about all the time, right?
Yep.
So we have this aspiration on freedom. So we have a little bit of pain to kick us into action and this aspiration of freedom. And then as you start moving along this journey of business, we get stuck on a hamster wheel, because what happens is the pain that initially kicked you's gone away. And now you're in a whole different kind of pain, which is trapped in your own business kind of pain. And you can actually lose the aspiration. And that's and this is where a lot of the small businesses lie. They lie in this middle ground of they've lost the aspiration, they've lost the passion for what they started off for, because they're trapped in a business they didn't really know what they were building in the first place, and they lost the initial pain. They've forgotten how much of the pain was kicked them into the journey in the first place. And sadly, that's where, and they get trapped. And this is where strategy comes in, because it's the strategy and the plan that's going to get you out. Most people don't understand that they're on the hamster wheel in the first place.
I usually say it's the biggest paradigm shift for any entrepreneur is to sort of go from working in your business to sort of freeing yourself up to have the time to work on the things that you want to work on in your business. And it's
Absolutely.
It is so difficult for people, and it's still challenging for me to look at things that maybe other people should be doing or are doing, but I'm not doing it at the level that I think I can do it at. And then letting them sort of make the failures and motivating them and letting it be, letting go. I find that still really, really hard, because I get energized by obviously working on the things that I wanted to work on when I got started. And the more time I spend there, the more passionate I become, and the more passionate I am, the more clients we attract, and et cetera, et cetera.
That's the trap, and that's the freedom. But it's not easy, and this is where. So many people in this space, right? If people are listening to this, they're already well aware of kind of sales and marketing, right? Because this is what a lot of people are preaching out there. They're like, sales and marketing, how to set up a business, sales and marketing, right? Of course you need that. That's what we preach too. But there's a big but. The trap is in this: just selling more is not the answer. Just marketing more is not the answer. You need that to scale and grow. But that's where the trap becomes. Because if you actually become successful and you do sell more and you do market more, but you haven't got your operational systems backed up, you're screwed. And you've got a load of pain coming your way. And then the next piece comes in is, just because you've grown more, if you didn't understand your numbers, you might have gone the wrong thing. Because is profitability truly in play? Can you really cash flow the business? Is it spiky? And the digital world's worse for this. I'm very blessed. I advise some of the who's who, and I'm very proud to say I'm mentor to mentors. That's the big way of how I get my reach, is I mentor the people who mentor others, so I can really make a big impact in the world. So in this digital world, it's, you do a launch and everyone's like, yay, I done a launch, it's great, it's gone well. Yeah, it's called a spike. Because your cash flow spikes, and then they just get a bit lazy for a while, and then they have an oh shit moment 6 months later because they're running out of cash, because it's called cash flow. So this cash piece is really important, and cash flow. But the mothership of all, which is why I love your work, right, is talent. It's talent, talent, talent. You've got to have the people laid behind you. Not like the old days. You don't have to have full-time staff anymore. This is not what we're talking about anymore. This is this virtual working, this supported by the right teams. But there's a big but relating to exactly what you just said. Is we can layer, do you know what, you can layer so much good stuff there. You can, have young, dynamic people really coming up and training them and motivating them and getting them to do stuff, right? But there's also a middle level where you've got to hire talent. You've got to pay a bit more for it. You've got to get people with the experience, the trusted guys and girls who've been there, done that already, because it just takes too long to actually train up some people to the level of experience we've got. So this is where no one can do it the way I can do it. Well, no, if you give a 25-year-old kid, work to do that, I've been around 2 decades. How are they supposed to know what I know? In the few years they've been in business, and yet we have this false expectation on the staff around us that they just can't do the stuff we can. Well, they can't yet. They will, by the way, but we've got to groom them over time. But that means there's usually a massive gap in middle management level, senior management level. Right. And that's where we get free. We get free at senior management level because we need someone not like us, by the way. We don't need another one of you. The last thing you need is another one of you around you, right? We need someone with the opposite skills of you who's got process and the detail and all the rest of it, allowing you to fly. But someone who's got your back can handle it at a high level, make the decisions you make without you being there. And that's a different level of talent. And that's the trap, unless you can start to build in that kind of talent levels, you'll never smash the 7 figures. You just can't. You can't scale up without that. Or you do, you scale up and it's all you.
Yes.
And that's the second trap. There's several traps along this journey. And it's actually, success is also a trap too, if you're not careful.
And just to go back to the sort of sales and marketing in the beginning. So one trap is that somebody starts a business and then doesn't go out and do sales and marketing. So they don't get then the feedback from the initial customers. So you can envision that like, I'm going to sell this. And then you spend a lot of time, prepping it, testing it, etc. Because that's what Apple does. They know what people want. Well, they're Apple. So they have quite a lot of brand influence. So maybe in the beginning stage, you want to go out there and actually sell and market just to get in like your initial maybe 50 customers so you can learn and groom and then build the systems. And then you kind of figure out that, these are the things that work. Okay, I'm going to focus my strategy on that. And then you build your operations and systems more. Do you agree with that? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about the spectrum of strategy. Okay, so a big part of strategy on a page is the spectrum. And the next book that's coming out soon, which is called, there it is Cascade. All right, which you talk about how you cascade your business out. Now, it depends on which part of the journey you're on. So what we're talking about in this book and the digital world is really focused on about the £70,000, €100,000 to the €1 million mark, right? That space. Now, what you're talking about is the kind of €0 to €100,000 mark, okay? Yeah. Now, that's that space. Now, why am I now? As soon as you're above €100,000, by the way, those figures, it could be 50,000, it could be 200,000. It depends on the industry if you're service based or product based, right? Yeah. But roughly, you go, okay, so you got a business then. That's the trick for me is €100,000. You got a business. You've sold something. You've marketed something. You've got something here. Either that or you got really lucky, right? There's still that amount of magic in there, but you've got something. Now, you're talking about that first part, right? And you're absolutely right. Back there, and this is where the inventor syndrome comes in, right? You've got a lot of inventors. They're just like, I want to build a toy. I do a lot of angel investing. I raise a lot of capital. So I see a lot of plans and a lot of people come and they just want to build a toy. They're really good at something. It's the technician business owner. They're really good at something. They want to build it. They're really excited by it. It's like, well, who's going to buy it? To your point. Who's telling you who's going to buy it? Oh, well, my mum. My mum says she'll buy it. Well, yeah, your mum will buy anything you build. So it's not quite the same, right? So that you've got to do the hard work at the beginning, which is more, it's marketing really. Mm-hmm. First of all, you've got to make sure the market's there, and you've got to understand the avatar of the market, and you've got to sell to that market, and you've got to understand they'll buy, and then the sales kicks in. Now, so you've got to absolutely, in those early days, as the owner founder, you're the one leading the charge on that. Mm-hmm. Because no one can sell it like you. It's your passion. You theoretically, if you're doing it for the right reasons, it's your heart and soul going into it as well. So that's absolutely where it all begins. So it's all about sales and marketing. So are we putting operations in place? Well, getting ready, providing we know we've got some momentum. But there's no point in having a big pile of systems behind you if you're not selling shit, right? Cash flow, we've got to be aware of it. We've got to be predicting what we can do, and we just got to be monitoring it. Talent, we've got to be ready for it. Okay, but those are just, we've got to keep our eye on those three. But the primary is in the sales and the marketing. As soon as you hit 100K, the very thing that got you successful in the first days is what will trap you in the second stage. Right. Because the hardest piece, by the way, right the way up to £1 million, the business owner is still usually the one driving sales and marketing. So up to £1 million, £1 million, that phase still carries through because nobody knows the product better than you. No one can sell it better than you. So up until, but in service industries, you can go up to about 500,000, and then we've got to start flipping in new sales people, right? But it's still, sales and marketing still driving, but now you've got to put the systems in, and now they've got talent in. Because if you don't put that through that journey, you will break at $1 million. You might still get to $1 million, by the way, but you will be broken by the time you get there. And then from the $1 million on, this is where we do a lot of one-to-one posts there with the army we've built. But that's a different, you need one-to-one holding your hand at that point, most definitely, because this is a whole different game. The system's changing. It's all about talent in $1 million plus. It's all about layering in the right people, the right systems, automation, all that kind of stuff. Now, you can get all of that early doors, by the way. You can really get that moving along the way. But it's different. The kind of stuff we need to layer down when we're a few 100,000 is very different to what we need to really batten the ship down when we hit $1 million. So yeah, it's different. So you're absolutely right. There's different phases for different parts of the strategy. Keeping an eye on all of them at all times. You need all 5 at all times, but you just different focuses. You just need different focuses.
So who should be picking up strategy on a page? Who should be picking it up and using it?
Do you know what? We wrote it for one avatar, but it actually resonates with all. I've just done a book deal actually. Okay. There's 2 books coming. There's a prequel and then there's a sequel. So for people who are literally starting up, right, who are just brand new, it will absolutely resonate with you, but we'll just focus on the sales and marketing piece we focused on. The bit that will save you there, but we're looking at it in a different way, is purpose. This big why. If you can get that concept nailed down early, it'll probably save you from building the wrong business.
Right.
All right, because most people, if you could this is where we're doing a lot of work in the startup markets now, but in a different way. There's a different message down there. But the message we are, and online now, we're splitting all our messages out, right? So there's going to be a startup message. It's going to be the sort of 100,000 to 1 million message, and then it'll be $1 million plus message, because the strategy on a page works all the way up. I'm now working with on the board with a FTSE 100 company with strategy on a page. So this works from startup all the way through. It's the same stuff. Business is business. Planning is planning. Nothing changes in the context and the structure. The only difference is where the focus points lie. As you go up the chain, and the further you go up the chain, by the way, the more it's talent. Okay. The FTSE 100 is all talent. It's all talent. I work with a Future 50, which is the 50 highest growth companies in the UK, selected by the government. And again, talent. It's all talent there, because when you're scaling that fast, you've got that many people. It's all talent. You get the wrong people in the wrong roles at that point, you're stuffed.
So how do you attract that level of talent? How do you attract talent?
Well, this is it. It comes back to the page. How do you attract talent? Now, it depends on what generation of talent, but I'm talking generation X and Y, because that's where most of the talent lies, all right? So we're wanting, the whole 20s, people in the 20s, all the way through. The next batch is coming through, and they're a different breed again, but they will absolutely resonate with about what I'm about to say, which is we attract them with purpose. This is where strategy on a page starts with purpose. I didn't start with purpose for the benefit of my health or because it's fluffy and it's nice. No, let's be heart-based businesses. Of course, I love that. I am a heart-based business, okay? But it's very strategic in what we're doing here, because what we've got that the big boys don't is we've got purpose. We've got a much bigger, we can have a vision and a purpose and an inspiration and a culture and a values that mean something. And Generation X and Y want to understand the why. They want to understand why their role is important, why their role fits. And by the way, people will take pay cuts from the big boys to be valued and treasured and be part of something that they believe in. Fact. I've seen it over and over and over again. So we've got this tool as the entrepreneur, as we are, and also that as we started this off today, remember I said the dream we were sold as Generation X, which was this job for life. People aren't bought into that anymore. You know, there was a few decades where everyone was just happily sitting in their box in a corporation for 2 decades, waited 3-4 decades, waiting for the golden watch at retirement age.
So what happened? Why how has that changed? Is it the internet? Are we influenced more? How did that change?
It changed on a number of fronts, but if you start to see where the shift happened, the shift started happening through the 80s and the 90s. Why? Because there was a load of downsizing. So all of this corporation piece, right? Because coming up through the 50s, 60s, 70s, you had all the corporations there, and you sit in a job and the jobs didn't go anywhere because the world wasn't changing that fast. So you could sit there. It was disruption. I could give you a history lesson around the Industrial Revolution here in Industrial Age, right? Because the whole system was set up for the Industrial Age of taking people from the country and sticking them in the factories. That's how it all began, right? And then that just went through this last century, and that just worked into the corporate world, right? Now, that started breaking with downsizing. And you remember all these massive job cuts and being cut everywhere. And it just, suddenly it was like, oh, there's no job for life. Oh, shit, this is bullshit. Oh, my dad's just been made redundant. Oh, and what's this redundancy thing? This is, by the way, this is where HR came in, human resources. Right. This is where the whole function was set up in the 70s. By the way, this is why I'm anti-HR.
Okay.
Now, that sounds like, hang on, Deri, you're talking about people. Yeah, but HR as a function is not what should be running the show. Talent should be running the show, of which HR is a function of it. Now, HR is needed, right? But HR, I think the term's derogatory, human resources. Like, I don't want to be a resource. I want to be a human being, not a human resource, right? So, but HR was set up, this whole people part of the company was set up to downsize and restructure. It was to get rid of people. So, and that's just carried through decades of, hang on a minute, what's the function of HR now? HR should be talent. That's why I call it talent. It's about assembling the right talent, making sure the right talent's around you at all times. That's what HR should be for. It should be recruiting the best talent, enabling the best talent, keeping the best talent with you, and releasing the people that's not meant to be there anymore. So this whole thing shifted over decades, Erlend. And then you just come through the 2000s. 2000s had the rise of the dot-coms, and suddenly you're like, ooh, everyone could be a gazillionaire by next Tuesday, and then everyone woke up a little bit a couple of years later, right? But then there was another massive pile of downsizing then. And then the recession hit again in 2008. Massive swathes of downsizing and people losing their job. So suddenly we've realized, do you know what? Our jobs aren't safe. That's bullshit. And then the biggest kicker in 2008, 2009, right onwards, since the recession was, the governments started getting rid of people.
Right.
Okay. Now you just
we don't do that in Norway. We just hire more.
Bless you Norwegians, right?
But we have oil.
So some, you do have that too. Scotland has that too. Well, they did. And that's all gone a bit to shit now, though, hasn't it?
It has. Yes. And now they're being
good luck with that.
Not the government people, but like the oil industry here is just very. People are taking massive pay cuts and going into like different industries, and it's a really interesting time here in Norway.
Scotland's been impacted the same way with the oil. Well, anywhere in the world where oil's a piece, it's going to come back, but it's it's different. But this is the point: is when we put reliance on one part of the system and that system breaks, suddenly everyone goes, "Oh, that thing that was certain, oil, government, is not certain anymore." So when governments are getting rid of getting rid of jobs, and which happened, the big downsizing in the UK, that's the safest of safe. That is, if you're working for the government, that's it. As you say, just hire more. That's the answer from governments. Not anymore. So now suddenly, and the next generation that's coming through, the people who are in the 20s and early 30s, they saw their parents be affected by it. Right. They saw their friends be affected by it. So they're like. And also that when I was growing up, my parents were like, job for life, keep it safe and all that kind of stuff, right? Because they hadn't seen at that point the destruction that was coming. Now, really, can any parents really put their hands on the heart and go, yeah, go and set a new job, it's a job for life? No, we all know it's not a job for life. You're going to go through 3, 4, 5 careers, right? Even if you stay in the job market. Mm-hmm. So it's just changed everyone's thinking. So why not, if you're going to take a risk, right? Why not take an entrepreneurial one? That's not much of a leap from that. You go back to when I was in school, it's not, it's a bit of a while ago now. If someone had asked in an assembly who wants to be an entrepreneur, there would have been tumbleweed going through the place. Nobody would have understood what it was. The word wasn't really very well known back then. It was, we're looking at, early 90s, right? I spoke for EO recently, the Entrepreneurs Organization Globally. And
we had the founder on the podcast.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Great organization. Who's that? Vern Harnish.
Yes, we had Vern Harnish on maybe 6 months ago. Great
guy. And really what he's built with EO is brilliant. All right. So we were in a podcast live around the world with, we were in an event and they were live streaming the events all over the world. But we had a load of entrepreneur kids, right, from school. Eton School was there, a number of other schools. And I just flippantly said, hands up, who wants to be an entrepreneur from the school system? 80% of the audience. Now that's a shift in
wow.
2.5, 3 decades. 80% of the kids in the audience said, I want to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Wow. Now, I wouldn't even know what the word meant 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think, for me, I was fired from my first proper job, and I had to ask myself, what do I really want to do? And that was 2007. And, I never really thought of it as a career path. I never thought of it as something that I could do. And if you interview a lot of entrepreneurs that have been in the game for like 15 years, 20 years, I often ask, like, were your parents entrepreneurs? And it's quite a high percentage that say, yeah, my mom and dad, they're entrepreneurs. And then, so that's how they got introduced into business. But now it's more like in social media and the government is talking about it. In Norway, the government has different, in the curriculum, you could choose to like study entrepreneurship for 3 years in high school.
Wow.
Which is like a total shift. Like if I had that opportunity when I was younger, I would have said, yeah, I want to do the entrepreneurship course. So, and that's of course because Norway doesn't want to be dependent on oil, but when there's so much money in oil, all the startups actually develop things for oil. Not all, but a lot of the investment, the venture funds in Norway, if you're not in fish or oil, typically they're not that interested. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy with the sort of oil stuff, but I'm not sure that's the right.
Fish, I think you're good with fish for a while though. I think you got, Iceland's the same. I think you're good for the fish bit until the fish start going away. But hey ho.
So passion. You just did a TED talk in Edinburgh, and I'm reading a book about that's called Talk Like TED. And one of the things that he's looked at like the 200 most popular TED Talks, which basically have more than a million views. And he's analyzed them and figured out like what works and what doesn't. And number one is passion, because passion is it infects other people. So if you're passionate, a negative person will become more passionate. So it's very interesting that you start with purpose on your strategy on the page, because clearly you've also figured out that like passion is number one, and you sort of move on from there. One challenge for me in regards to passion, which is interesting because I wrote a book, Never Work Again, which is like do what you love and stuff like that. But I still get influenced by the sort of I should be making more money. And I compare myself as well. Like this person's making X amount, I should be making this amount, and then that's a very different energy than passion and purpose. So my question to you is like, how do you, in the complexity of business, how do you kind of get rooted back into your purpose and passion consistently?
So that's a big part of why we start with purpose, right? And why, as you quite rightly said, there's 5 elements to purpose in the way we do it with strategy on a page. And the first point is passion, which is, what do you love to do? Now, there's a depth to that. I can spend an hour with a client just on that. Yeah. And I mean, I will go under the hood. People will read my book and they'll make some notes and they'll go, yeah, I got it. No, you don't. you really don't. You'd have to come to one of our live events and experience it to really get it, because you just don't. It's almost, the book is a step forward, but it's impossible to do this work on yourself. You need an external input to draw it out of you. I can't do it on myself, by the way. That's why I have my mentors as well, right? Because you think you kind of, yeah, I got it now. No, you don't. Because you need to be challenged on this. And most people have not been asked this question. remember I've worked with a lot of thousands of people, I've spoken with around the world and advised over 300 boards one-to-one now. This is the question which is the hardest for people. When I say to you, what do you love to do? Now, there's two angles to this, right? Some people never had the passion in the first place.
Okay.
Right? That I can't get it back for you. Because if it wasn't there, it's incoming. And people are like, oh, well, how do I motivate people? You don't. People are either motivated or they're not. You don't go and motivate them. You've got to draw the motivation out of them. And if it wasn't there in the first place, nothing you're going to do with them is going to get it out, right? This is why talent and hiring the right talent with the right attitudes and the right motivations is kind of super important, right? So if you haven't got it, it's not there. Now, in your industry, I'm going to put you in the kind of internet, because you're really, you're pretty cool internet guy, with all the systemization, automation, and book and everything else. I'm just going to put you in that camp for a moment. I know you're bigger than that camp, right? But let's just put you in that camp. What do people in that camp come from? So the 5 elements of purpose, very quickly, is you've got to have passion, you've got to have service and value in what you're doing, you've got to have a big enough market opportunity, because otherwise it's a hobby. That's the hobby differentiation. Or some people have niched too far and gone too wide. You've got to earn enough money. So there's a financial purpose to every business. And you've got to have the lifestyle with it, right? So those are the 5 elements. Most people come into the internet marketing world really, truthfully, because there's a market opportunity to earn money and have a lifestyle.
Yep.
That's the truth. That's the truth. And that's the truth of most people, especially anyone that's in a shitty job with a shitty boss, right? Anything's better than that. So they're looking for the freedom piece. And the freedom piece is follow a market opportunity. Now, and that's fine, by the way, for the first few years. And I'm good with the gang with that. That's how I did it. I speak a lot in the property world. I made my first money in property. So property was a big part of my strategy in the early days. Same gig, market opportunity, make money, have a lifestyle. The bankers, lawyers, accountants, you just name the industries. I can roll the industries off on you where that is where the industry lies. Okay.
Right.
The FTSE 100 that I'm working with at the moment, exactly the same gig. Now, here's the big kicker. Where's passion and service and value? Because that's your competitive advantage, by the way. That's a lot of people are looking somewhere else for a competitive advantage. I just did a podcast to America, to 9,000 lawyers and barristers in America. And the question that you really wanted from me is, how do we differentiate ourselves, Deri? How do we get a USP? And I'm like, well, you don't. Sorry, can't help you. Which is very popular for the podcast. Because it was like, you're all lawyers. You came in for a market opportunity, and by the way, you're talking about parents. There's a big statistic there where people who are lawyers or accountants is because their parents are lawyers or accountants.
Yeah,
and doctors the same. There's a massive statistic down the professions.
And it's interesting because they're typically very intelligent people, right?
Oh yeah,
like lawyers and doctors. So my cousin's a lawyer, and we were just out walking in Oslo. And, we talk about life and things. And I asked him, so why did you become a lawyer? And he said, well, it just seemed like the right thing to do because all my parents' friends were lawyers. They were lawyers. And I just thought that's what I should do. So he did. Because it was acceptable.
And that's it.
And he's a really, really smart guy.
Most of us are, but we are influenced around in our immediate surroundings. And if you don't know any better, I did chemical engineering as my first degree. Why? It was a stupid degree. I hated it. Why did I do that? Because the only thing in West Wales where I grew up was oil refineries.
Right.
That was it. So oil refineries. Who runs the oil refineries? Chemical engineers. Okay, I'll be one of them then. What the hell? When we're 16, 17. What else? We're not equipped to make strategic decisions in our careers at that point. We just go with what we know. Which, by the way, in the old school days, that was it. You're stuffed. You're a chemical engineer for life. Yeah. Not anymore. I did what I needed to do for 5 years and I was done, right? But this is it. We've got choice now. But see, if the majority of the lawyers are coming in with that's it. It's a market opportunity to earn money and have a life. Because you'll have a nice lifestyle off the back of it. You'll have a nice house and a nice car. You might not have that much time with your wife and kids because you're a lawyer.
And you're trading your time for money. That's how you make money. So you can only make a certain amount.
Forever. But hey-ho, it's safe. That's what they think. So where's the differentiator? There isn't. We all hate lawyers. We all, because they're all boring. However, you come across a lawyer that did it for the right reasons and really loves it. and has that passion for it, and that service and value piece, right? In that they've got your backs, they love what they do, but they love you as a client, and they want to serve you properly, and they will show you the value they're going to bring to the table, and they, so they can, and you feel that, as a client, my lawyer, I love my lawyer. My lawyer is awesome. She's actually game changing in the legal profession at the moment, and literally, I advise her as well. She's wonderful. So she's completely game changing in the legal space. I love working with her. I know the value I'm getting clearly, and she articulates it really well. She's absolutely serves us 100%. She's entrepreneurial in approach, and she loves what she does. Mm-hmm. Now, is that a competitive advantage? Yeah. Can you fake that? No. You can't fake passion. So when you're looking at, when you're in that space, for the first few years, great, build a business, do what you need to do, right? Then be warned, boredom's coming. Right. If you set it up with passion in the first place. Now, and this is a passion one, this is the trick, is that you might love some of the stuff you do, but do you love it all, truly? And now you're getting free, you've got choice again if you've built the right business. So a lot of times when I'm coming into businesses, what I've got to do is go, all right, are we in this or are we out of this? We can work an exit. If the passion's not underlined there and it's not true, we're going to replace you with the right people and get you out. Mm-hmm. To get you doing what you truly love to do. Because we can't just manipulate passion where you're at unless it's truly embedded. And that's a big part of what we do. We walk in and get them really clear on what the business they're building. And are they building the right thing? Because it'll take 3 years to build the right thing. And sometimes it'll take us a couple of years to undo what they've built a little bit too. So
to the entrepreneurs, basically the people that are in a job, they want to maybe start a business, they're wondering what to do. What are the steps of figuring out their passion?
See, this is where there's two routes in. I think a lot of entrepreneurs will just follow market opportunity because you've got to be careful here. This is a double-edged sword, right? So a number of people get this message wrong about passion. They kind of go, oh, what do you love to do? Oh, I love horse riding. Okay, we can build a business out of horse riding. By the way, which you could. I love adventure. I'm passionate about adventure, but I don't want to make a business out of it. Mm-hmm. It's my passion. So we have to be careful with this term passion, right? It's what we truly love to do and how we want to serve the world. Remember, the next piece to passion is service and value. Because a lot of people just pick a hobby that they love to do and they go, I'm just going to do that as a business. There's no service and value in it. It's just what they want to do. It's kind of egoic. We have to be careful that the passion isn't just egoic passion. We talk about that in the TED Talk. I talk about ego fear and stuff. But this egoic passion is equally dangerous, all right? Because if it's all about you, this is the inventor syndrome, right? I just love this. I'm passionate about building toys and I just want to do that. Well, hang on a minute. What's the service you're bringing with that? What's the value? What's the market opportunity? You remember, the whole 5 need to be in play. Can we make money out of this? What's the financial purpose? So you've got to think through all 5. And now, if it so happens that you've got something you love to do, and that flows down, then great. But a lot of people in the early routes will actually take a market opportunity first. And I'm good with that, by the way.
And is that because we need proof? So you read okay, Erlend makes money on outsourcing. That means I can make money on outsourcing. I'll start doing outsourcing.
Yeah, and that's where most people will go. And I'm good with that, and I'm fine with that. Just know that there's a trap coming. Unless if they don't tell you, right? Because you will get bored shitless within a couple of years, or it might not work because you're not quite the same profile. This is where I go contra to NLP. I've had a number of conversations with some big players in this industry around NLP. Now, neuro-linguistic programming, for those who know it. If you don't worry about what I just said, just ignore that. But it's essentially mirroring and matching, okay? So people like, hey, trade the stock markets, right? Be a gazillionaire by next Tuesday. Or, hey, come and outsourcing this on Amazon and sell widgets, right? So all of that stuff, all of that is absolutely works. But will it work for you? Now, you could go to work for a couple of years, and if you can mirror and match, and you can replicate the same thing, which is fine, by the way, to get you out of your trap. If you're currently in a shitty job with a shitty boss, that you will go to work for a couple of years, and you can make it work. But is it you? Is it your true passion? Is it where you're naturally in your flow? This is where we use psychometric tests, etc., when we to understand exactly what kind of profile the person is.
Which ones do you recommend as a personality test?
for entrepreneurs coming in the early days, we work a lot with Roger Hamilton and talent dynamics. Right. The reason being is it's easy, it's about flow, and it's really obvious in that you don't need that much translation in it. In that it's just, oh, I get that now. And also we use talent dynamics as a team play as well. So that's a really good one for entrepreneurs, and that's a classic one. So if anyone needs any access to that, we've got codes and stuff. So contact us if anyone's interested in that. We can get it set up for them, right? But the talent dynamics, there's one axis which is creator profile. What are you, by the way? Have you done that? Have you done the profile?
We use it as well to profile people. We've tried lots of different ones. We've tried Disc with talent dynamics. Myers-Briggs, they're all the same.
They're all telling you slightly different things.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, they can be used for different. The only reason I'm interested in the talent dynamics piece is it shows you on the scale of creation to timing.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if you are, I used to trade the stock markets going back 12 years, right? So I did a bit of stock trading and I could do some swing trading and stuff off it, and it was exciting for a year. Then I was bored shitless, right? So a lot of entrepreneurs, we get bored. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people just think, oh, that's just entrepreneurs. They just chase shiny pennies. No, it's because if you're a creator profile, you need to create. And so I'm a creator profile, right? So if I'm not creating, and I'm trying to trade, which is timing, that's dangerous. I'm going completely against my natural flow. I can do it for a while, but I won't be sustainable in it. And the other bit I'm interested in talent dynamics is processed, people orientated. I'm a creator, I need process. So as you start to scale a business, you need process. And if you don't have it, and you don't have support in it, you're stuffed, because and that's a natural talent in people, not something you can train people. You try to train a people person to be processed, you've got a whole heap of trouble coming. So that's why I like that profile, because it's simple. So the trick is just know who you are, and then build the right business around that.
Yeah.
And again, if you look at the kind of the stuff that you're talking around, like automation and everything else, that's great for process people. People who could just put a system and follow a system. They can go all day long on that. Whereas you give a trader that, slightly different, because a trader just likes the timing piece and just likes to move things along. So yeah, it's just understanding as an entrepreneur who you are, and that's a journey, by the way. This is why I say don't sit there and twiddle your thumbs for a couple of years trying to think what passion you've got. And procrastinate forevermore on whether you start, and whether that's just following a market opportunity, because you learn, you will make the mistakes, you make the failures, but then along the journey, my first few businesses weren't the right businesses for me, and I'm guessing the first, couple for you evolve, and we evolve, and that's the trick, and just get used to it, get used to failing, get used to evolving, but just you've got to get on the journey. Because there's nothing like it, and learning from somebody else's journey is a good learning point. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get people to understand that along the journey, when the shit times come, or the dark times come, or things don't work out, or they get bored, or they're losing their passion, or they feel trapped, that's a normal part of the journey. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people, that's the point where they give up. That's where failure happens, and it's destructive. It ripples through the whole family and community. It's like, no, it's fine. It's normal. No, it's coming, because then we can set you up ready for it.
I have to show you my office here, where I have my never give up poster. You see it?
Nice. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, gotta have that. So what kind of personality profile are you in talent dynamics, and what did you learn from that in terms of the business you have now?
When I did it, I was heavily in property when I met Roger for the first time. It was the first time he came to the UK, actually. I think it was 2004, something like that. And suddenly I saw myself as I'm a creator profile, but I'm balanced equally with mechanic and star, right? Which means I kind of balance at the top quite nicely, which is why strategy works. I'm good at strategy, because I'm creating businesses, I'm creating business models. So I'm able to, this is why I'm constantly, I've advised 300 boards. What is that? I'm creating strategy. I'm in my flow when I'm advising boards, but I've equally got the process and people mix. So I'm able to help create the process. Don't get me running process. So I hate that.
Is that the
mechanic? That's mechanic. So I'm bridging mechanic and star profile. I'm on the stages. Okay.
Right.
So that's my balance, which means now, as soon as I knew that, at the time when I came across the profile, I was I was doing a number of things in property and stuff, but I was trading a lot, trading the stock market stuff. And that's why I realized why it was like pushing water uphill. I wasn't in my flow. So I just stopped all of that. And ever since, I stay in my zone of creation, star, and mechanic. And it's
interesting. I'm the exact same profile.
And a lot of entrepreneurs are, and this is the thing, because why? We are the starter energy. This is that energy which starts things. You've got to create. Right. So I've seen hundreds and hundreds of talent development profiles from leaders, right? A lot of us are up there, but that's on our weakness, right? Because you scale through the deal maker trader part, right? So we need salespeople and people who can trade for us to trade up the scale. But you also need the process people to build the systems and the processes and manage the processes as you start scaling. So when you start to say it's this trap of talent. So when we're talking about talent, we're not just talking about, just get some people in. No, right people, right roles, right profiles, doing it to free you at lower and senior level, and suddenly you can step back and be in your flow. So for me, the only things I should be doing, where my value is added the most, is here with you, people like you, spreading the word on the stages. In the keynoting stage, running my own events, because we do our own live events in London and our own retreats, and I run accreditations. We're accrediting what we call coach, consultant, mentors around the world. So that's it. If I'm not in my flow, and also creating, by the way, I'm in the studio a lot, creating new content and the creating of the messaging and the refining of the messaging. I'm doing a lot more marketing at the moment, which I'm not good at, by the way, but I've got top talent by my side drawing it out of me. But that's it. But I know what I love to do. And how do I know that? Through 2 decades of knowing what I don't love to do. Because sometimes you have to do the shit to know you don't like doing the shit. And that's just part of the deal. Because people think, I love to do that. No, be careful. And also, the other thing, the final piece I'd like to add on this is you have to be careful, because too much of one passion's a bad thing.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people don't get that. That took me a decade to work that one out. So, for instance, I love keynoting. Right, I love being on the stage. TEDx recently, that was a great experience. I was closing out the whole TEDx conference in Edinburgh. It was a wonderful honor, and I love being on the stages. But stages are quite exhausting. As a speaker, it's hugely energetic. No, I'm an endurance athlete, right? So I can go out and run a marathon, 20 mile today, right, and I'll be fine and be quite energized. But put me on the stage for an hour and I'm knackered, right? So there's an energy thing with it. So if you put me on the stages, just Deri, you're on the stages for the next month, it would kill me. I'd get bored with it. I'd lose the passion for it if I did it too much. I love the boardrooms, but I can't be in the boardrooms all the time. I love the creation in the studio, but I can't be. So what emerges over time is this fit of the blend of passions. And when you can operate out of a blend of passions and articulate that and architect that properly, that's what we're creating for our clients. That's what we're creating for the people that's working with us, is architecting the business of their dreams properly, a business to be proud of, a business that is self-managing, but allowing them truly to be in their freedom zone, to have a blend of their passions. And
how has speaking helped your business? And the second question is, how do you get on stages around the world? So it's 2 questions.
So how speaking was, I had 2 speaking careers. I came out of the speaking business about 8-9 years ago. I didn't like what I saw in the speaking. I originally came into the speaking business in the wealth side of things, and that's when I saw people manipulating from the stage and selling from the stage and doing all that kind of shit and shenanigans, and I just don't like it. And I actually walked away from the industry for 3 years, and I just went, if that's speaking, I'm not doing it. I refuse. And I only came back in 2010, but I came back on my terms. By the way, strategy on the pages in there, and I realized that I had this passion to get this message out, and the only way I was going to get this message out properly, it was going to be through the realm of speaking. That's how I could get scale en masse with what I was doing. But I accidentally came into it. The institute of directors, I had a reputation. This is a lot of people go, oh, what shall I speak on? Well, go and do something first. Be good at something to speak on it, right? So many people are just trying to fire into the professional speaking circuit, and they're copying other people's stuff or doing. It's like, no, you got to I came in, I was already great at strategy when I came into speaking. I'd already had the proof points. I'd already worked with boards. Now I just wanted to get what I knew. I just wanted to enable and serve more people. So the big key with speaking is service. We are serving from the stage and adding value from the stage. A lot of people say to me, how do we, I speak for the Professional Speakers Association, so I've keynoted on this a number of times. This is why this message I could go all day long on, right? Which is, what is purpose for speakers? It's that we should be serving from the stage and adding value from the stage. A lot of people say, how do I earn more money speaking? Add more value from the stage. It's quite simple. So and it was game changing for me. Speaking is game changing for my business because I stand on the stage and I'm an authority, and I've crafted my art over the decade, and I love speaking. I had a shitload of value when I'm speaking. I love serving the audience, but now also speaking was when I came back, I came off the stages again because I was speaking to people, they wanted more and they couldn't get me. So this is why I had to digitize and create an army and create the live events, because just speaking from the stage, if you've got nowhere for them to go, you're not fully serving them.
Right.
Right.
People want to buy, right? People want to buy.
They want to buy, especially when you add a load of service and value. They want to continue the journey. They want to continue the value. And that was my mistake when I stepped back on the stages, because I had the book, but that was all I had. So this is when we have to build out everything else. Now we're back, and we run our own live events. We've got a journey we can take people on all the way through, no matter what their needs are, from the micro right up to the FTSE 100. So, but that's taken years to architect that properly. And the second part of your point was, how do I get on the stages? Well, thankfully now, reputation. I wish there was an easy shortcut for people, but I'm very blessed that because I've spoken on so many stages. How does it work? Exactly that. I get asked back. Like TED was, you've got to be very careful what you ask the universe for. I'm very blessed that I attract cool people like you, right? So I get to attract people, and I just put stuff out into the universe. And it was in end of November last year. Someone was saying, Deri, why haven't you done a TED? And I was like, well, TEDx. And I was like, I know it's on my list, but I just never got around to it because I've had a really busy couple of years. And they're like, you really should do a TEDx on that Everest piece. And I was like, yeah, no, I should actually. So literally in the beginning of December, I just went, yeah, it was a thought of, yeah, I'll do a TEDx. Within a week, I had a call from a lady in my mastermind going, hey, Deri, I'm doing a TEDx in Edinburgh. Would you like to do it? They want you in. And I'm like, okay. So didn't even look. So that is now. So, you asked a question that the truth is now I attract it. I've also got a speaker manager and a speaker agent that kind of attracts it for me, right? But go back 6 years, there's called a lot of hustle, which meant I was on a lot of stages. And what that meant, and there was a lot of free stages in the early days, right? People pay big bucks to have me now, which is wonderful, right? I do it for free because I love it. I won't do it for free, really. My manager would kill me. But in the early days, I was on the stages for free. I would be literally, and I'd be crafting and going on the stages and practicing and serving and adding value. So I spoke a lot. Now that meant a lot of people heard me, which means a lot of those people went, oh, will you come and speak for me? And that's when the cycle begins. A guy in America, and I can't remember his name. Oh, he's in the National Speakers Association in America. But anyway, he calls it stage time. Okay. You just got to get stage time. You've got to get time on the stages to master and craft your work. And I've got 2 decades of stage time. But on that journey, you start to share the stages with cool people as well. The back end of last year, I had a run of gigs, and I was on the stages with a who's who. It's wonderful. And then we're hanging out afterwards. So suddenly you're hanging out. I'm a fellow of the Professional Speakers Association now as well. So it just, that momentum builds over time. But it's not a shortcut. And so many people are looking for shortcuts in things. I'm sad to say it's, and I'm believing this thing called work and time and mastery, which is the 10, big part of, I think I mentioned in the TED talk, which is 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours went into Everest. The Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours to mastery, and it's the same on the stages. I've spent 10,000 hours on the speaking. So, we need to commit and master our craft. And with mastery, it just flows. It's like anything. If you're really good at it, you will attract it. But in the early days, it's called a bit of hustle. and just getting out there. Which back to the sales and marketing piece. It's that hustle. You just have to get back out there in the early days in any business.
And the beauty of once you get in on stage in front of a group of people and you're talking about your passion, then ultimately you are doing sales and marketing. For me, and for me, it's like a comfortable way of selling. Like, people wanted to come and see me speak, and then when I speak, they get engaged because I'm passionate about it, and then
And they see, what are they buying? This is the thing. They're buying the passion. If you got now, this is changing. I see the world changing at the moment. Now, I have to say, I've been really shit at selling from the stage. I am not good at it, right? Because I went against it. Remember the reason I went anti that? I was like, no. However, a good friend of mine, Shah Wasmond. I think you know Shah, don't you?
I don't know her, actually. I don't know her.
So Shah Wasmond.
I've heard of her, but I don't know her.
She's great, Titan in the UK. I love Shah to death. But Shah and I, we were having dinner a few years back, and we were talking about the selling from the stage, because at the time she wasn't great at it either. Both of us were serving from the stage, all right? And she'd just been slapped by one of her mentors, and I was about to be slapped by one of mine as well. But she said, do you know what, Deri? If we don't learn to sell from the stage, the other sharks and charlatans who can sell from the stage will attract those people, won't serve those people, and it's our fault. And because we have to be able to learn to sell authentically and genuinely from the stage to be able to serve those people at the next part of their journey and save them from the sharks out there, because there's a lot of sharks out there, sadly, in this space. And she was absolutely right. So now for me, service, how do you sell from the stage? Back to purpose. Because if you deliver and you're delivering passionately, and you're adding service and value in what you're doing, value being key from the stage as well, and there's a big market opportunity, and you're speaking to the right people in the audience, and you price it right and affordably and accessibly, and you're offering you're showing them the way out, and you're offering them an aspiration to lifestyle, boom, it sells itself. And we're very, for now, it's so easy to sell, because it's like we've already just delivered a load of value, whether that's in 30 minutes, 1 hour, or whatever else. So the next piece is, do you want some more? Here's your options. It doesn't have to be any shenanigans or run to the back of the room with your credit card out, waving it in the air, kind of stuff. That's not the way we play. And I don't think business owners, our audience, certainly don't respect that anymore. And the world's changing.
You also get the customers you deserve. So let's say you sell a program for $1,000 and it sucks, and you don't show up and you don't deliver. How much more money are you going to make from that client?
Yeah, and this is a service and value. The service and value pieces. If you're not adding service and value, and you cannot articulate that, right, it's not got longevity. Right, which is exactly what you're saying. That's called the smash and grab, which is a lot of people have built the businesses off the smash and grab. They literally make as much money as they can quickly, and then they'll disappear, and then they'll come back again. Now, you could do that in the 1990s and the 2000s, because you could literally do a smash and grab in area by area, and no one would ever know. There's so many cons out there, right? Yeah. Now, social media, reputation, oh boy, you go and do a shit job, everyone will know about it. Good luck with your reputation. And I'm here for life. Everything we do with Business Growth International Strategy on the page is a lifetime value of the customer. That's what we're interested in, is the lifetime value of the customer, not a one-off smash and grab. We are, and because strategy is for life. It's not just for Christmas, right? It's for life. So we can serve people, and also we are now putting this in universities, right? Okay. So strategy on a page is, we've already got universities accrediting with us, and we are providing this into the startup space. I've open sourced the methodology. This is open source. Right. Anyone can access this for free. I've bought the rights back from the publishers on this, so we can give the ebook away for free. Why? Because I want this in the hands of as many people as possible. Because if we can help people in the early days, we can help them at universities to make the decisions, and help the startups to come on. Guess who the tool of choice is as they start moving through? We're the tool of choice for them. And then we're there to help them at the different parts of the journey in different ways. And that's lifetime. So we are thinking about the whole life of the customer. We're not thinking about a smash and grab in one cell. In fact, big part of our promise, company promise, which is on the page. So I'm pointing to my book here, and not just a random, just pointing on the desk. So this, I can't see the company promise bit. Our company promise is, we deliver, and this is in boardrooms all the way through, is we deliver transformation and value with ROI to be predetermined with the client, or your money back. Now, why it's easy for me to do that digitally. Any of our digital products, I give you money back in a heartbeat if you don't add a shitload of value and you don't love it, money back, no question asked. Live events, same gig. Now that's the trick on that. If we're doing like a 3-day mastery series, then if you don't at the end of day one, because we've got to be careful with that promise, because some people will just abuse the system.
Yeah.
So you put a few little caveats in to make sure you don't get abused along the way. But clients, this FTSE 100 brought me in a few weeks back, and the deal was the same deal. They'd never been offered it before, and they went, I told them a day rate, which is not small, and I said, here's the deal. I'll come in for a day with you guys. If I don't add a shitload of value, you don't pay me.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, how can you do that? I went, because I don't even know if I want to work with you yet. Because it goes both ways.
Yeah.
What have I risked? I'm risking a day. But what do I risk? If I do a day and they pay me and they say, it was okay, what have I just risked? My reputation. And I'm not prepared to risk my reputation for nothing. And because that's what we've got for life, is our reputation for life. So, these little boxes on this page, they may look subtle, but there's depth behind them. And each little box is there for a reason. Every box was chosen very carefully. USP and company promise. The company promise one is a really very deep one for me, is what are we promising?
Yeah.
And, if you promise something, you deliver it. That's the key.
And what is on the... So we've sort of talked about sort of the hard space, the vision, the promise, the values, which are kind of the soft things.
Yes, they're soft, but they're not soft. This is the thing. They're hard. They're really hard. And you kind of get me. I'm not a fluffy guy, all right? So the values piece for me, which is typically soft, that's culture. Values are a sackable offense. This is not soft science for me, right? This is hard stuff.
Yeah.
So the left-hand side of the page is really where you hold the big play. That's where the purpose is, why do you exist as a business? Okay. Vision is what are we creating, and values is what do we stand for.
Right.
And then the whole USP market-based company promises is, and what space are we operating out of? Now, that is the foundation of every business. That is, as soon as we've got the foundations set, now we can build. But I'm so many businesses, 95% of the businesses I walk into have not got those foundations laid down. Which then you are building on sand. Then that's the trick. And then so once you've done that, you move over to the right hand side of the page, which is strategy. Strategy is a plan. That's what it is. Let's not make anything more fancy. But most people have a very one-dimensional plan, right? So their plan is make more money or make $1 million or whatever. It's a goal typically, not a plan. So we're just trying to re-articulate people's heads in sales, marketing, operations, cash, talent. You've got to have all 5 of the spectrum going at all times. Most people are missing at least 2 or 3 of those, and therefore they're just building the wrong thing. So that's the right-hand side is where the planning begins, and the top part of the page is the numbers. That's way too complicated for today, but you've got to be measuring stuff. If you don't measure, you're probably, you're building the wrong thing and you don't even know it. But the measurement, we call them business growth indicators. They're very different to KPIs. This is real intelligence coming out of the company, and it's measuring strategy. It's not just numbers that are just being pulled out of data sources for the sake of it.
So for the people watching this that want to attend basically a workshop, get access to the book, where do they go?
What I'll do is I'll get you a link, bgistrategy.com. If you go in there, the book's available. So we've open sourced the book, so you can literally go in and get the ebook from that. Now, I like physical copies, so we send the postage and packaging out. I don't know what that's going to be for. I know you've got an audience around the world. Yeah. But you literally pay the postage and packaging, and we get the physical book for you. That's all part of the sequence. I can't tell you how much it is to go to Oslo or America, because we have a lot of people buying out of that at the moment.
I ship my book to people sometimes, and it's typically like 20 pounds.
Okay, so it's not.
No, 12 pounds. Sorry, 12 pounds.
This is not a small book. That's the thing, right? But the ebook's there. The ebook's there for free for everybody. But then equally, we will get you the physical copy in your hand if you just pay postage and packaging. All right. So that's the gift we have for you. Sure. Now, from that, you're in our sequence. But people who want to come to the live events, just follow us on Facebook and Twitter and all the rest of it. We launched the live events out through that. We can give you the link for the next one. We literally going to be launching it I don't know when this will go out, but we'll be launching it soon. The next one will be in June. But we run a summit pretty much every quarter. So the next
3 days, 4 days, 2 days?
No, that's one. We do a 1 day intensive because this is the point. We've got to take people on the journey.
Yeah.
And a 3 days just messes with people's heads, right? So we just got to get you the basics laid down, and we literally cover the entire page in a day, but it's intense. And we give you a bit of digital support before it. And then from that, we take you on the journey, which is right for you. So that's reset day, because we don't know what's right for you, because we've got this whole thing is available digitally. We've equally got the intense retreats, which is the 3-day masteries. But most importantly, as you start getting bigger, like you, and the kind of people touching 500,000 and above, and 1 million and above, definitely, you want that one-to-one.
Okay.
There's no support. There's no substitute for the one-to-one mentoring, what I call CCM, coach, consultant, mentors.
Yeah.
So what we've been busy doing the last year is building an army. So we have 70 accredited guys and girls, hand-selected, the best of the best in UK, Europe right now. So so as you come through this journey, we can serve you in all blends. It comes back to this service and value piece. How do you serve the small business with strategy? Because a lot of people, most consultants will go, oh no, there's the small business, there's no money down there. Well, that's bollocks. There is money down there, but it's got to be served correctly. So what we serve with a blend of digital, live events, and then the one-to-ones. Because when you get the mentors, they can come in and hit you exactly with what you need with massive value. Because we can give you all the pre-education before that in a digital and affordable way.
What a lot of people. So one of the things I talked to Vern about was because he's got his 4%, like only 4% of all businesses turn over more than $1 million.
Yeah, he's right.
So so if 96% of all businesses are small to medium, then there's a lot of money there.
Amen. But it needed to be served. And this is what I mean. Everybody in the strategy space is hitting the 1 million and above. And we've got the maths. There's in the UK, there is 4.8 million business owners in the UK, right? And about 4.6 million of those in the space I've just talked to you about.
Right.
And no one's serving it because you've got to serve it in a different way. This is the advent of technology, right? Because a lot of the guys in my space, strategy space, they're a bit old school, right? They haven't woken up to this digital age quite yet. So how do you serve that space? You serve it digitally, but it's not just about digital. I think I'm a massive believer in the live events piece, right? We've got to bring the community together. Because business owners need to sit with other business owners. Because I'm sitting here and I'm saying, me and you can have a conversation because we've been around the block and we've had the failures and shit, right? So when I'm saying, oh, it's about this and it's hard work in the first 2 years, right? People will nod. But when you're sitting around a table with 10 other business owners and everyone's going, yeah, it's fucking brutal. You get that the community feel to this.
Yeah.
You kind of get it, and they go, we keep our events quite intimate because it's like we want people to get that community and have their backs, and they make new contacts, and so that live experience to me is really important. The digital supports the education, right? So then you constantly got the education there. So with digital and live, we can actually get a massive part of the education laid down, because this is an education for business owners. We're not taught this stuff. That's the problem, right? And then when a mentor comes in, when we land the mentor, we've already set the page up. We're all good to go. We really know at this point, actually, is marketing. Marketing is the issue. Boom. Here's the page. Here's the vision, purpose, values, everything else already laid down, so that the CCM can come in and just hit that and hit immediate value. So, and quickly, we don't need days down here. We need hours. 1 hour a month, 2 hours a month with a shit hot CCM makes a massive difference, which means it's affordable.
Yeah.
So that's what our whole space needed to be served in a different way. And that's why we've set up the blend, digital life and the CCM army, which we are massively passionate about, which comes back to the passion bit.
Fantastic. So what is the link again?
So bgistrategy.com is where you get the book. You're in our system then, and we'll get stuff out to you. We'll also get you the link when we launch the live event, so you can get that out to your peeps.
So one last question, Everest and adventure. So the question is, it's going to be two, but how does adventure sport, sort of running marathons, climbing, the five of the tallest mountains in the world, how does adventure and that sort of feed into, which is your passion, feed into business? Like what have the learning outcomes been from that? And then if you could round off with also like what happened on Everest last time you were there, That would be interesting.
So when we talk about the 5 elements of business, right, the final one being lifestyle, we're here to build a business to support life, right? That's the point. For me, it happens to be adventure. You know, I'm out in the Welsh Hills. As soon as I come off this call, this shirt's coming off and I'm out running, right? So this is the point. As entrepreneurs, we can build a business to serve our lifestyle. For me, it's adventure. You know, I'm passionate. I'm happy in the mountains. You know, not running across deserts. That was a bit crazy. But this travel and adventure piece is huge. By the way, it's one of the biggest regrets. It's another kind of keynote I do, which is life's regrets. Mm-hmm. And one of the big. We did a big research study around the world of what the top regrets were. One of the top regrets is not setting up your own business.
Okay.
Not changing your career. So the career and entrepreneurial regret is huge. And another regret is travel and adventure.
Okay.
All right. So for me, it's a natural byproduct of if you set up the right business, you should be rewarding yourself and living the life that you set up. Now, I do this with all my clients, and we get there. What does this truly mean? You know, one of my clients has a Ferrari Dino, and he races his Ferrari Dino. That's his whole thing. But when I first started with him, he had a Ferrari Dino. It was sat in his garage, and he hadn't raced it for a year. Like, what's the point of that? Mm-hmm. Another one of my clients, helicopter. He just is flying, and he hadn't flown for a year. So a lot of us, by the way, successes will bite you in the ass if you set up the business so you're passionate and service and value and market opportunity else. You'll trap yourself, and the very thing you built it for, which is lifestyle, you'll screw yourself on. And I'm here to untrap that bit. So for me, my adventure is basically practicing what I preach and living the dream, which is, for me, it's adventure. For everyone out there, it'll be different. It'll be yoga, or it'll be music, or it'll be art, or it'll be helicopters, whatever it is for you. The trick is what is it for you? That's my big message of living a life of no regrets, which is the TEDx talk, right? That's living a life of no regrets. So it comes entwined, but they're different things. This is where the passion thing needs to be unraveled. A lot of people think that passion thing is the business thing. Not necessarily. I think there's something else, and it fuels it. My adventure fuels my businesses. It fuels me. It fills me up. But it also gives me stories. Now, it just happens that I got some of the coolest stories in the world to land strategy, because in order to plan, and we were on Everest last year, as you know, 10,000 hours went into Everest, and we were running the British expedition. So what is that? That's strategy. So the same stuff I'm doing in business is the same. In order to do the stuff I do, like run 6 marathons across the desert, right? It's all strategy. It's all planning. You can't do it. It's the same stuff. Building a business, creating and architecting a great life. It's the same skills, just in different parts of the business. So, they're entwined. They really are entwined. And that's a big part of strategy on a page, is ensuring we've got that enmeshment right, and people are building the right business to do the right things in their life. Because just smashing it and building a big business and not actually living along the way is not clever. And it's just, I just don't think you should do it, really.
Yeah.
But that leads us to Everest. So I think I encourage people to go and have a look at TEDx. The full story is there.
We'll include a link to the TEDx talk underneath here. And
I don't want to spoil it for them, because there's that's a whole different thing there, and you'll see the entire what happened on Everest last year. Now, there's a clue. There was an earthquake on Everest last year, and I happened to be one of the highest men on the mountain when it hit. And with that comes a story. So I encourage you to watch the TEDx, and that's my gift to you.
Fantastic. So guys, go to, where are we going? BGI?
Go to bgistrategy.com. And then the ebook's there as a starter for 10.
Fantastic. Deri, it has been a true pleasure having you on the show, and I will certainly be attending one of your workshops in the future to learn more about this. I've already looked at it. I've already applied it in my own way, but of course, by attending your workshop, I'll learn a lot more about the strategy on the page and how to use it better. Thank you for being on the show.
Real pleasure. Take care, guys.
This podcast is brought to you by MrOutsource.com. Outsourcing to the Philippines done for you. Mr. Outsource is a recruitment company matching busy entrepreneurs with Filipino virtual assistants, so you can have the time to focus on what's important.